May 5th, 2022 awards meeting to order. We have a physical quorum represented by Joe Orfano, Haibu, and myself. We also have Laura Dutton and Todd Skinner filling in for Ricky Erickson attending online. The Office of General Counsel is represented by Rebecca Levy. Budget is represented by Mitchell Shepard. And before we begin reviewing today's agenda, I'll note that there isn't anyone physically present for public comment. Haley, did you receive any public comment via email?
No comments at this time, and Stephen Elmore has signed on as budget representative.
Okay, thank you for the update. All right, I'll pause for a moment to allow callers joining us online to unmute and speak up. Hearing no comments, we'll proceed with today's regular agenda. On today's agenda, we have items 1 through 11 that have been reviewed by Procurement and Budget. These items are now ready to be reviewed by the Awards Committee, beginning with item 1, representing the minutes from April 21st, 2022 Awards Committee meeting. Are there any comments or corrections to be discussed? Okay, may I get a motion to approve award item 1?
Joe Orfano, so moved.
And a second?
Haibu, second.
We have a motion from Joe Orfano, a second from Haibu. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Minutes are approved as presented. I'll pass it over to Jenny McCollum, our Chief Procurement Officer, to walk us through each of the remaining items before I ask for a motion, beginning with item 2.
Thank you. Through the chair, award number 2 is a contract termination. This is for our warehouse management system, and it was supposed to be for the licensing, implementation, support, maintenance, and training. We awarded this to Mod 43 Inc. in the amount of $397,200. The JEA team worked with them very closely for many months, and just due to their issues and not being able to meet several business requirements, including information security and functionality that we originally requested, we are asking the committee to terminate this contract for convenience. Katora is on the line, and she is the most intimately involved with the different issues that we've encountered with Mod 43. I think it is a mutual termination for convenience. We've already sent them a letter letting them know that we intend to do this with the approval of the awards committee. So this is kind of wrapping that piece up. All of the senior leaders involved have approved and are okay moving forward with this termination. And lastly, for us to be able to continue this effort, we will be working with a third-party functional subject matter expert and the JEA team together to move forward with a solution for the business. So I'm going to let Katora jump in. She can give you guys a little bit more information on some of the issues we were having. And then just lastly, you can see in the notes, we have paid out for the work that they have done, and we have worked with them. We had milestones set up, and they were able to meet, kind of one of the first milestones. That as soon as we started to get into testing, we started having issues. It became clear we weren't going to be able to move forward. So, Katora, do you want to jump in and add anything I forgot?
So, just to wrap up or add context to what Jenny's already stated. Mod 43 was the original implementer of the WMS product at JEA. They came in right before COVID and did an assessment. As a result of that assessment, a solicitation was put on the street. The expectation was that since they were intimately familiar with our footprint with WMS, them winning the bid didn't pose any problems. However, what they did not take into consideration at the time of the start of the project was that since 2004, when WMS was originally implemented, we've made a lot of changes with regard to our footprint technically, as well as our information security policies and procedures. One of the main items that they struggled with was the fact that we no longer use Telnet. That component has been removed as a standard for JEA, and that posed problematic for them. They also did not take the time to properly assess the changes in our technology footprint at the start of the project, akin to what they did with the business requirements. So once we completed the first validation of the baseline product, it was evident that we weren't going to be able to successfully move forward. And so the recommendation of the team was that we terminate their contract and bring in someone who has worked more recently with the latest versions of R12 and WMS that could better equip us to deliver the upgrade to the business.
I think the other thing to add to Katora, and just correct me if I'm wrong, is when we went out to bid for this, we didn't have the internal staff resourcing to work with this third-party implementer, so we went to source that out as a whole. Things have kind of evolved and changed since then, so that is another factor that we are taking into consideration.
That's correct. The team that's available now, the resources weren't available at the time that we attempted to start this. So fortunately, we've had quite a few changes in our organization, and we've got resources available with experience who can drive this effort technically with the appropriate functional subject matter experts.
Thanks, Katora. Any questions for the group?
Hey, this is High. Did we consider termination for cause? It sounds like all the conditions, all the reasons would qualify.
We did. We talked about it, and as a group determined termination for convenience was an acceptable path forward. We won't be bidding this. There's not really anything outside of, terminating their bidding privileges. We'd already paid out some of the work, and so as a whole, we decided that was the best path forward.
Yeah, I guess that leads to my next question. Do we have any other contracts with Mod 43, and do we expect that they're going to bid on future projects?
We do not have any other contracts with them. Katora, do you anticipate them bidding on any other projects?
And based on this experience, I wouldn't recommend moving forward with them on anything else.
Do they have the skill set, though, and to work on any other projects that we would have coming up?
Yeah, and that's why my question, if we consider, if we terminate it for cause, then it's going to be documented and they won't be able to, at least for a short while, bid on future projects.
Honestly, I don't think they will be bidding on any future projects. Decision.
And Katora, I think just for clarity, I think the heart of what I was getting to, aside from what's already been discussed, is there anything in the pipeline that you're aware of whereby Mod 43 could respond to a bid?
No, not anything that I'm aware of at this time.
Right.
I think the termination for default also would have taken a longer period of time from a communication standpoint. There's some extra steps that you have to take to make sure, and this was the fastest path forward to get the business the solution they needed. So we weighed all that. We did weigh all the options. We did have a conversation about it, but decided this was the best path forward. But that's a great question. Any other questions or comments? All right, I'll pass it back to the chair for a vote.
Thank you, Jenny. May I get a motion to approve award item 2?
Haibu, so moved.
And a second?
Dutton, second.
We have a motion from Haibu, a second from Laura Dutton. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion is adopted. I'll pass it over to Jenny to present award item 3.
Thank you. Through the chair, this is a change order, so you guys should remember this one from not too long ago. We brought it to the committee, and it was for the design, fabrication, and shipping of the Bartram substation and the SOC Annex towers. We were planning to move forward with one, which the committee did approve with the contingencies that we talked to the vendor to see if they would hold pricing or consider moving forward. I think there was some confusion about whether or not we had enough budget in addition to making sure we could get the permits, et cetera, in place in time. And so all of those things came together. We are bringing this back to the committee to add the second tower to Severa Industries, Inc., their contract in the amount of $479,138. You can see we think that the project completion dates, the Bartram would be August of 2022. That's the one you all approved at the beginning of April, and then the SOC should be completed somewhere between January and February of 2023. Pricing was held, and we felt like it was the best path forward as we move through the rest of the permitting and other things that we were looking at to avoid future cost increases for us having to rebid this in the future. Do you guys have any comments or questions? All right, I'll pass it back to the chair for a vote.
Thank you, Jenny. May I get a motion to approve award item 3?
Joe Orfano, so moved.
And a second?
Todd Skinner, second.
Thank you. We have a motion from Joe Orfano, a second from Todd Skinner. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion is adopted. Pass it over to Jenny to present award item 4.
Thank you. Through the chair, award number 4 is a change order. This is for our Oracle Customer to Meter, so our C2M project, director support and critical gap assessment consulting. So this is our outside consultant that is assisting JEA with the implementation piece. Red Clay Consulting, Inc. is our recommended awardee, and the change order amount would be $2,461,011. These funds are needed to resolve the additional critical issues that have been identified and that must be addressed to ensure a successful implementation. Red Clay, has the structure and the C2M knowledge required to get JEA to their go live date of October 14th, 2022. So this should wrap us up. The payment for this change order is based on lump sum milestone payments, which you can see listed below. And I'll note that Red Clay will continue to provide a fixed milestone-based proposal at the 29% discount that we were receiving with the other work that they've been performing for us. So I will pause there and ask if there are any comments or questions on this one. All right, I'll pass it back to the chair for a vote.
Thank you, Jenny. May I get a motion to approve award item 4?
Haibu, so moved.
And a second?
Todd Skinner, second.
Thank you. We have a motion from Haibu, a second from Todd Skinner. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion is adopted. I'll pass it over to Jenny to present award item 5.
Thank you. Through the chair, award number 5 is a piggyback. This is for our Splunk hot storage monitoring part cloud subscription with standard success planning and training. This is a monitoring and alert tool JEA uses on our corporate assets and regulatory requirements such as CIP. First time I read it, I thought it was something about hot yoga.
It's better than that.
Sounds better.
It's pretty exciting.
CDW Government is our recommended awardee in the amount of $466,307.98. This is a 1 year, not 1 years, so we will take the S off of that, contract. And so I'll just make a note that CDW is an authorized Splunk provider, and they have been since 2018. JEA's current pricing offered by CDW is 42% lower than the GSA published pricing. So we have done some and had some discussions with CDW on this one. And I will pause there and see if you all have any questions or comments.
This is Laura Dutton. I have a question. Is there a reason we can't do a longer term agreement on this sort of? This seems like something we're going to need for a rather, well, like maybe forever. Why are we just doing 1 year at a time?
Yes, Nathan and I had that discussion. We have some notes in the award as to why. I think it's something that the business is going from a strategic standpoint to think about going forward. They didn't have the budget was one of the reasons that I heard, and that they need to figure out how they're going to move forward. I'm happy for the business to step in and comment.
Good morning, this is Greg. So we went for a 1 year because we're moving from our on-premise to a cloud subscription base. So this is the first time that we've done this with our monitoring tool. So one, as it was just stated, we didn't have the full budget to go for a multi-year, so we're going for a year. It also allows us to see if this is the direction that we want to take with this kind of a solution. Again, it's subscription based, so the more we use, the more we could be charged. So we want to, make sure that we're making the right move before we lock ourselves into a long-term agreement. So next year, when this contract comes up, it'll come back to the awards for more than likely for a multi-year contract if everything proves out to what we think it will.
So I think that's really good additional information it sounds like we're going on-prem to the cloud environment. Is that a correct statement, Greg?
That is correct.
Okay. And so I think, can somebody mute please if you're not on mute? So someone's dog must be misbehaving. Okay, so I would suggest that we touch on it a tiny bit, but maybe we can emphasize that in one of the background paragraphs, Nathan. So let's add a statement, as to, kind of the hesitation. This is our first year of doing this. We want to try it out. We want to understand what the data limits look like, and that we're picking the right subscription, and then figure out what that longer term solution looks like.
I don't think that Ted is on today, but I'm going to guess if Ted were coming, he would say lack of budget should not be the reason that we don't have a plan for the long term. I might suggest that the paragraph really emphasize that this is our first time out of the gate with this approach, and we want to make sure it's the right one as opposed to a lack of an
I agree. It does look like budget's the main factor, and Ted would not appreciate that rationale.
We will make that update. Let's,
Yeah.
Nathan, just work with me on that last paragraph so I can see what you guys come up with, and then we'll send it over after with the edits to the chair for signature. Any other questions or comments? All right, I'll pass it back to the chair for a vote.
Thank you, Jenny. A motion to approve Award 5 with amendments.
Laura Dutton, so moved.
And a second.
Joe Orfano, second.
We have a motion from Laura Dutton, a second from Joe Orfano. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion is adopted. I'll pass it back over to Jenny to present award item 6.
Thank you. Award number 6 is a contract increase. This is for cured in place pipe. So our CIPP unit price construction contract. Our water, wastewater reuse delivery and collection group contracts with this company to do to line a number of our large diameter sewer mains in response to a series of trunk main failures and at locations identified by our large diameter pipe program consultant. The pipe length is larger than the 8-inch sewer mains that are typically lined by our internal group. So this is to supplement the group. And Instituform Technologies LLC is our recommended awardee, and the amount is $840,000. This is a 3-year contract with 2 one-year renewal options, and we are still within our first term, or the original term, which expires in December of 2023. The rates that are being used are the original rates that we have used since the inception of this contract. These are just additional projects that have been identified that need to be added to this contract. So this is really just an increase in funds using the same rates to cover projects that weren't identified when we went out to bid. And then I'll also note that recent line failures have also occurred. And so kind of a combination of new and then more failures are adding to the award amount. I'll pause there and see if you guys have any questions or comments. All right, hearing none, I'll pass it back to the chair for a vote.
Thank you, Jenny. May I get a motion to approve award item 6?
Aye. So moved.
And a second.
I'll second.
We have a motion from Haivu, a second from Todd Skinner. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The motion is adopted. I'll pass it back over to Jenny to present award item 7.
Thank you. Through the chair, award number 7, this was a IFB, so just a straight price bid, low price bid. Bessie Circle Water Main Installation is the project. United Brothers Development Corp is our recommended awardee in the amount of $849,170.30. We expect this project to be completed in November of 2022. This was an interesting one. We bid this out when bid opening was March 15th, and we didn't receive any bids. So JEA contacted the potential bidders, and they indicated a couple of things. One, they were already bidding on multiple other projects, kind of had their plate full, and didn't have time to complete and submit a proposal. But additionally, there were concerns about the hazardous materials removal and disposal requirements. And so we decided to extend the bid to the mid-April timeframe, about a month out, and we reviewed and we updated the specifications with the help of the business and to encourage vendor participation. So I think we've clarified, some of their concerns about the hazardous materials, helped reduce some of that risk from their perspective, and then gave them more time. So we ended up receiving 5 bids, and just, this is kind of something, just so the committee knows, this is what we do every Tuesday. We're looking to see if we get low competition. When you guys hear us say we continually go back and ask, we are asking for these specific reasons. So this one was worth the extra effort and the work that the team put into it. And I'll just note that it's 20% lower than the budget estimate, which we believe is due to some of the risk that we kind of took away from the bidders, that, and what they were having to do. This is a Brown's Dump ash site, so there are some, again, the hazardous material removal and disposal requirements. So I will stop there. If the business wants to jump in and mention anything else, you guys are welcome to. But I'll open it up to the question for questions.
Jenny, this is Joe Perez. Through the chair, I'm noticing a typo there for the TG utility bid.
Yeah, something's wrong there.
So I don't think they're the low bidder. I think that's just a typo. So I'll take a quick look and see what their actual bid was. So if you give me a minute, I'll do that now.
Okay. Thank you. So outside of that correction that we will make, do you guys have any questions or comments?
This is another admin thing, but in the write-up it says the award amount was 20% lower than the budget estimate, but the budget estimate was listed is exactly the same as the award amount. So can we go back and change the budget estimate?
Yeah, hi, this is Joe again. Don't know how we missed that, but we'll correct that as well.
Thank you. All right. So pending just a confirmation, which we'll do on our end, that is a typo for TG Utility. We're confident that is. I will pass it back to the chair to consider a vote.
Thank you, Jenny. May I get a motion to approve Award 7 with amendments?
Can I?
Sure.
Is it possible for Joe to verify that right now? It's still, on paper, it's not a good
Jenny,
look.
why don't we proceed with Award 8 and then we'll circle back to 7 once Joe has an opportunity to confirm. Is that good?
That sounds great.
Okay, yeah, I'm almost there, guys. So I'm just making sure.
All right, Joe, just send me a chat if you're ready to present that information. Okay, so we will put 7 on hold. We'll go to award number 8, which is we call it miscellaneous. These are kind of like our developer agreements. So this is a cost participation agreement with Nassau County. So that's why we don't say developer agreement, because it's not the same. It's kind of an interagency county JEA cost participation agreement, which we established in March of 2021. And that is working with the developer for the improvements associated with the Wildlight PDP3 North roadway project. So we have the Wildlight LLC and the lowest bidder. They're the developer. The lowest bidder, Burnham Construction Inc., is our recommended awardee in the amount of $954,182.02. We think this will be estimated project completion September of 2022. The developer went to bid. They have received 2 bids. And when we are looking at our award amount versus the budget estimate that JEA had put together, we are almost 50% less. When JEA put that budget together, they were anticipating that they would have to do all of the work, including final restoration work. So we've, with us working with Nassau County's developer, and that cost participation agreement allows us to kind of do that jointly. So JEA doesn't have to pay for any mobilization, demo, because they're already on site working. So I will pause there, see if you guys have any questions or comments. Hearing none, I'll pass it back to the chair for a vote.
Thank you, Jenny. May I get a motion to approve award item 8?
Joe Orfano, so moved.
Haibu, second.
We have a motion from Joe Orfano, a second from Hai Vu. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion is adopted. I'll pass it back over to Jenny to present award item 9. Before you start though, Jenny, I did notice there might be a discrepancy on the package for the amount on award 7 to TG Utility. So if Joe can look into that, the number I'm looking at is different from what was presented.
Yes, we will confirm all of that. I think he and his team are looking into it now.
Okay.
And if we can't get it timely, we can always defer and bring it back with updates. Okay, so award number 9, this was a request for proposal. This is for the facilities, HVAC repair and installation services for up to 20 tons. This is, package cooling and heat pump systems and supply exhaust ventilation fans. So repairs and installs of these types of units and some additional type units. So in addition to the 20-ton split, you've got the packaging, cooling, and heating systems, et cetera. We own about 717 HVAC systems that JEA owns, and we are recommending 2 awards. I think this is a change from the way we've handled those in the past. We had 1 awardee, I believe, y'all correct me if I'm wrong, and I believe WWGA was our incumbent. We have a new awardee that we are bringing on, Certified Air Contractors, Inc., in the amount of $200,000. So for a total spend of $400,000, and we are doing this for a year. The intent was to go out and have 2 equal contracts based off of the 2 highest ranked vendors to allow for business flexibility. Oftentimes one contractor may excel at installation, others may excel at the repair, and just allows JEA to pick the best vendor to respond based off of their respective skill sets. So the 1-year term will allow us to kind of evaluate this approach, vendor performance, and determine if the services under the contract are meeting the business requirements. We do have 3 one-year optional renewals, which we can utilize if we feel comfortable with this approach. I'll note that the previous contract, we're seeing about a 13% increase from the previous contract, which was allowable and from an increase perspective on PPI. And so when we compare what's happening in PPI to our increase, we're seeing about the same increase. It's about 11.5%. If we look just strictly at the index. So we find that reasonable. And I will ask the committee if you guys have any questions or comments on that one. All right, I'll pass it back to the chair for a vote.
May I get a motion to approve award item 9?
Laura Dutton, so moved.
Haibu, second.
We have a motion from Laura Dutton, a second from Hai Vu. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion is adopted. I'll pass it back over to Jenny to present award item 10.
Thank you. Through the chair, I think we're ready to go back and talk about award number 7 if we want to pause and rewind a bit.
Yep.
So Joe, what all did you guys uncover?
Hey, Jenny. So the yeah, we updated the budget estimate, and now that 20% lower price makes sense. We also updated the TG utility bid. Just gonna share with everybody really quick if I'm allowed. But that's the TG utility bid. It's slightly over $1 million, so they're not low bidder. That was just a typo that we missed. So apologies for that. The SharePoint version is now up to date.
Great. Okay, so we will insert that into the packet before we send it over to the chair for signature with the updates upon approval of the awards committee. So I'll pass it back to the chair. Do you guys have any questions or comments?
Jenny, I just note that the corrections were sent out by Haley yesterday as part of that final package. So that does reflect what we're looking at now.
Okay, so is the packet we're looking at just not up to date?
It must have been different because what she sent yesterday had this information in it.
Okay. Thank you. I have to say I pulled something up last night in SharePoint. It looked like everything still had comments on it, and I even sent it to my group and said, why do we still have red lines? And they're like, I don't know what you're talking about. And then when I pulled it up after I attached it, it didn't have anything there. So SharePoint's been acting a little bit funny for us. So that might be part of the problem.
The lower amount.
The one from yesterday?
Yeah.
The final that she sent?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking at, I saved it. I'll go back and look.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Hey,
Well,
hey,
either way, we've got it updated and we'll include that in the packet.
Okay.
Okay.
If I may, Jenny, I just checked the email that I sent to Ray because I sent her an actual copy of the award, and the numbers on that one were correct. So something must have happened with SharePoint. Our award must have been replaced by some earlier version. I'm not sure how that happened, but we'll look into it.
I agree. No, I had some weird stuff going on in SharePoint this week too. So I think my team thought I was going crazy. Okay, so we will update that and I'll pass it back to the chair for a vote on number 7 with the amendments as discussed.
All right. Thank you, Jenny. May I get a motion to approve award 7 with amendments?
Hi, so moved.
Joe Arfano, second.
Thank you. We have a motion from Hai Vu, a second from Joe Arfano. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The motion is adopted. I'll pass it over to Jenny to present award item 10.
Thank you. Through the chair, award number 10 is a proposal. This is for just our general engineering services for water, wastewater, and reclaimed water projects. So professional design, engineering services for our JEA plants and our pump stations. We have a lot of work coming, excuse me, and JEA anticipates when we bid this out, needing 9 contracts to meet its future demand for this type of work. JEA may not have the manpower expertise to handle internally. We are also making a big push in an effort to try and expand our vendor base. bring in new vendors. We have quite a few new ones that either, I haven't seen in the years I've been in this role. And so I'm excited to see, the growth of the vendor base. We are splitting these equally amongst the 9 based off of budget, which the amount, I won't read the amount every time. I'll read it for the first one, and then I'll just read the awardees for the record. AECOM Technical Services, Inc. is the first recommended awardee in the amount of $1,705,554. So that'll be the amount for all 9. We've got the Adora Group, Inc., Black & Veatch Corporation, Freeze & Nichols, Inc., Kimley Horn & Associates, McKim & Creed, Midtower & Associates, Mount McDonald, and Wright Pierce. This is a 3-year award with 2 1-year optional renewals. And we had 19 proposals that we received when we went out to bid for this. Really, really good competition, really great vendors that this group is bringing in. So I'm excited for the team. Again, these are continuing services contracts, so they will be handling work and design for kind of smaller projects. And when we say smaller, we really kind of point to our statutes, which say if our construction cost is $4 million or less, we can utilize these continuing services for those types of projects. The studies a little bit different, and I can't remember, Dan, from the statute off the top of my head. I know they had updated that recently from a study perspective, but they have the studies have a threshold as well. So that's kind of the confine of what the work can be issued, and they'll do that through task order. So we've negotiated hourly rates with all 9 of the vendors. They can use those negotiated rates for each task order that they have, and each of these contracts can be increased by CPI annually. And Dan put a note, gave me a note, it's $500K for studies. I will pause and see if you guys have any questions or comments.
Hey, this is Hi. First, great work by the team, because I know how hard it is for consultants to win projects based on proposals alone if they haven't done any work with JEA. So this allows new firms to get the foot in the door, so to speak, and prove themselves. So it's in the end, the list of engineers I have no issues with. I do have a comment regarding the evaluation scores. You can see some of the engineers that we've been working with for a while, like Corolla, Hazen, and CDM, right? 13, 15, and 16. And essentially, they did not score well in previous work with JEA. So even though that category is only 10 points, the span actually, you go from 0 to 10. So I think, if I remember correctly, some of those firms received 0 points for that category. So in essence, that category drove the score and had the most impact on the score overall, even though the category is only 10 points, because it went from 0 to 10. Categories like design and approach, they had the highest value points, like I think 30 or 35 points, I'm not too sure. But typically the score for that category, the span is narrower. You get, let's say, 30 to 35 points. So the difference between the highest and the lowest scoring firms were only, let's say, 5 or 6 versus the previous work awarded. It's just a kind of an observation out there. I think we received comments from the firms about that. We want to maybe take that into consideration in the future to see if, is that unduly harsh for some of the firms that we've been working with, or is it appropriate?
Hey, hi, this is Joe, and I'll let Dan chime in also. But I think on this one, we did have some points in the evaluation based on the amount of work previously awarded. And the reason for that was that, the newer firms were complaining that, they were not being assessed fairly because, they being new to JEA, they couldn't score really high on that. So we did assign some points based on, if you had JEA contracts up to a certain dollar amount, we would like discount points for that, just as a way to open doors for the newer companies. So it's always a little bit sensitive when it comes to that. More established companies obviously want to continue working with JEA, and they do have an advantage going in. So it's always a difficult place to be, where how do we balance prior experience versus opening up opportunities for new ones. So I feel like we struck the right balance on this one. Dan, I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
I think the only, just if the committee has questions on what exactly that section included, it was topped out. It was a sliding scale for the past 3 years as of the due date of the RFP. And if they had over $10 million worth of purchase orders, they got 0 points. So, and it was a sliding scale from 0 to $10 million. So we felt that was a large range. In the past, it's been a much lower dollar amount, but we didn't want to overly penalize, firms, but we did want to try to open it up a little bit. But we welcome any sort of direction the committee wants to give for future events.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the comments. Joe and Dan, I fully agree. And like I said, I don't have any issues with the list. But when you compare, I'm going to throw out the bottom firms. Let's say, you compare the Hazen or the CDM Smith to some of the firms that won. They're top ranked. When you compare the professional experience and the company experience and the design approach, the 3 highest scoring categories, the difference in points amongst those firms are really 2 to 3 points per category. And then you go to the value of previous work, the difference is 10 points. And that's what, it's just a comment, while the value of work scored was worth only 10 points, in the end, it drove the scoring because if you got 0 for that, you were 10 points behind and you couldn't catch up in the scoring, even though you had the best professional experience, company experience, and design approach, because the scores, the span of scoring was not as quite as wide as the 10 points. So let's look at, here when just look at the overall average score, and you see the one that was not chosen and one that was chosen. Compare like CDM Smith to AECOM. I think AECOM is the top scorer. Professional experience, call it CDM scored a little bit higher, half a point. Scored higher on company experience by 2.5 points. Scored design approach by 1 point. But they got 0 for the value of work, and AECOM got 10, and therefore AECOM was the top scoring firm. So that's what I'm trying to point out that well, I really appreciate new firms coming in. It did penalize the firms that did a lot of work that scored well in the major categories, but weren't able to win because of the way the scoring is.
Okay.
You know.
So hi.
I'll
go ahead, Jenny.
Well, so, and this was this is our first attempt at kind of opening it up, trying to get new vendors an opportunity with JEA, which is also very important to grow that supply base with the amount of work that we have. So I know that is not something that you are, have issues with. We all have that, same end goal in mind to make sure that we have enough companies to do all of the work that's coming. I'll just remind the group that this is our kind of our lower dollar spend. And so anything that's going to be like bigger projects, we're going to be bidding out, and all of these, groups will then have the opportunity to go for it. The intent really was to try to bring in new vendors, give them an opportunity to make sure that they have some work and understanding of how JEA does business. And we accomplished that. And I understand, High, to your point, maybe 10 points was a little too high. But we did have a lot of discussion about that. And like Dan said, the range of the previous work, some thought went into that, and to make sure that we had the right amounts from a sliding scale to be able to offer the opportunities and maybe not completely discount everyone, but the ones that got 0, I mean, they have quite a bit of work with us already. And so we were, we don't want to overtax them as well. And then we have the big projects coming up we want them to also go for. So it's a balance, and we can continue to discuss how we want to score that going forward. And we can use this kind of as a starting point for how we do this, but this was our first attempt at opening it up. The vendors also, I would say, I think they were, like Dan said, were asking questions about the sliding scale and what that entailed for the previous work. But did anyone push back on this when we had it on the street before the bids were due? I guess would be a question.
Nobody pushed back too hard. We did have some firms who requested their amounts that would be applied, using up their PO history basically, so they could see where they were at.
Okay. And it looks like when I look at this, that we only had 2 that got 0, right? Hazen and CDM Smith?
That's correct.
Okay. So everybody else got some sort of, and we looked at all of the different engineering groups over the past 3 years and looked at their totals and really tried to be fair about that range. So there was some thought, there was a lot of thought that went into that.
Yeah. Hi, as I'm sure you might remember, when we used this value of previous work in the past, the range was from 0 to $2.5 million, and we would really excluded a lot of firms if we had kept that same scale. So we tried to bump it up to be more inclusive.
Yeah, and like I said, I don't have any problem with this. And what I tell the engineers is that we're going to have enough work for everybody and more over the next decade. So everybody will have a chance to be able to work with JEA. So in the end, I'm perfectly fine with the list. We may just want to at least be upfront about the potential or tweak the scoring a little bit for the future, but I'm perfectly fine with this list of firms today.
Okay, great. Any other comments? All right, I'll pass it back to the chair for a vote.
Thank you, Jenny. May I get a motion to approve award item 10?
I move, so moved.
And a second?
Joe Orfano, second.
We have a motion from Hai Vu, a second from Joe Orfano. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion is adopted. I'll pass it over to Jenny to present our final award item.
Great. Through the chair, award number 11. This is a contract increase. You guys have seen this one a few times, and you'll continue to see this one because this is a construction management at risk where we are doing multiple, projects, upgrades, that kind of thing to Buckman Biosolids. It's multiple projects. So Wharton Smith Inc. is our recommended awardee, and the contract increase amount is $3,684,712. We think that the culmination, I believe, of all the projects is September of 2024, but somebody correct me if I'm making that assumption wrong. We've had a number of things you guys have seen started back in December of 19, which is pre-construction services and about $1 million. We came back for the purchase and installation of the blower system improvements, came back again for the purchase and installation of the ultraviolet disinfecting system, came back a third time for the site improvements and the purchase of the centrifuge unit and dryer support. This contract increase is to remove existing fine screens, supply new JEA approved screens, and install influent channels. I'll note at the end, we note that as design progresses for the other aspects of the overall conversion projects, additional guaranteed maximum prices will be brought before the awards committee, and the overall contract value inclusive of all the projected projects will be $300 million. And we are at about 51, a little under 51 million with this contract increase. That'll include the construction, for all of the projects, design, construction, everything. So it's a big one. You guys will continue to see this one. And Hai, if you have anything you want to add or any clarifications, let me know.
No, it's good. I had not seen that last sentence, or either I missed it before, but I was going to make a comment about that. Yeah, it won't be the last. And 300 million. Yeah, that's a lot of Buckman. I guess the only, well, no, I'm good.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the rest of the committee? I'll pass it back to the chair for a vote then.
Thank you, Jenny. May I get a motion to approve award item 11?
I move, so moved.
And a second?
Second.
Todd, was that you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion from Hai Vu, a second from Todd Skinner. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion is adopted. The entire agenda representing items 1 through 11 is approved for May 5th, 2022. Is there any other business to come before the awards committee at this time? All right, seeing none, we are adjourned. Thank you.